I set myself a challenge to run 5 kilometers every day for 30 days. And as someone who was overweight and, an ex-smoker and battled addiction for like half my life, I knew this wasn't something that was going to come easy, but I knew that I had to do something. But by the end of those 30 days, I really couldn't believe how far I'd come, and I wanted to share the story with you today. I guess it sort of all had been accumulating, but it really started to hit me again when I realized that I had been the heaviest that I'd been in a long time. Shirts weren't fitting me anymore. When I started my new job around 2 years ago, I was 74 kilos and I had gained 20 kilos in 2 years. I had just turned 31 recently, and I felt like a big part of my life I didn't really have control over, like my physical health and stuff like that. And I had been watching David Goggins and people like that, and ultra marathon runners, people getting up at 4 a.m. to run half marathon before they even go to work. And meanwhile, I was just sitting on my ass every day and just getting unhealthy. So I asked myself, what if I don't change? What's that gonna mean? How heavy am I gonna get? How unhealthy am I gonna become? What impact is that gonna have on my future with my partner? But I tried to flip it. I don't want to get caught up in that negative mindset all the time. And I said, okay, well, what if I do change? What if I do go 30 days at least and run every day like I had done before a long time ago? No excuses and just run. So I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. So I set the challenge for 5K every day, no matter what. And day one was, to be expected, quite rough, right? I ran a 29:08, but that was quite decent, I thought. I had done 5K before, like around 2 years ago before I started my current job, and my first run was way worse than that. And I saw 29:08 and I thought, wow, like, okay, maybe I'm not as bad as I thought I was. The day after that, I got a 27:18, and I was like, God damn, man, maybe I have retained some skills here, That's actually not a bad performance, but something felt a bit off, and I didn't know what it was yet, but I just keep going. By day 10, things were going downhill. It was pretty rough. I could barely run. My calves and my Achilles tendon and just that sort of area between the ankle and the calf was just so sore, man. And some days I could barely walk. So I was doing like 35-minute 5Ks, and my body, I guess, was just wrecked from doing nothing to pushing myself as hard as I possibly could, or what I thought was as hard as I could. Even though I hit the 27:18, the pain that I was feeling was making me like doubt everything. People were messaging me and commenting on the TikToks and Instagram reels and stuff and saying things like, oh, you shouldn't be running that much. And, I was just like, I had to block it out because I was like, I set the challenge. I can't just not do it, right? So I got new shoes. I was stretching more, but nothing really seemed to work. Now, around the halfway mark, day 15, I had promised the viewers of the TikToks and the Reels, etc., that I would do a weigh-in to sort of track my progress in terms of my weight and see how I was going. And at this point in time, I had been feeling pretty stink. I was really sore. I wasn't running as fast as my first initial days and stuff like that. Nothing really was seeming to be working. So I was quite anxious to get on the scale. But the reality of the situation was I jumped on the scale and nothing. I was still the same weight. In fact, I may have been slightly heavier than what I was when I began the challenge. So I was still 94 kilos. It's like 94 and a half or something. And man, I tell you what, it killed me. I was poopy pants when I got home. I remember telling my girlfriend, and she was really supportive, and she's like, it's okay, I'm proud of you for doing this stuff. But in my head, oh my God, I was miserable. I was actually miserable. So yeah, I had to pick myself up. The next day, thankfully, I had a good sleep, and I just told myself and patted myself on the back, for doing this and showing up and pushing myself even though I was in pain, and picking myself up even though I didn't lose weight. And I just got back into it, and we finally hit a breakthrough. So day 18 is the day I would say that everything changed. I ran a 26:54. So for the first time in like 16 days or something like that, I had beat my time, and that was a much needed win. I was like, I can't believe nothing's working, so I just smashed it. I also didn't stop, so on these other runs, there would be moments in the route that I would start walking or jogging, or I'd slow down or stop entirely. But today was the first day that I could actually go the distance and not stop, and I had found a good pace, my breathing was good, and things were starting to make sense, and it became a bit more effortless, and I wasn't thinking so much while I was running, and I could kind of tune out and just focus on putting one foot in front of the other. At that point, I wanted to change it up a little bit, and I had seen somewhere on like TikTok or something that if you want to beat your 5K, it's actually better to run longer distances. I guess the logic behind that is that if you can run 10K really well, 5K is only 50% of that effort, right? So I thought, okay, well, I'll jump on a 400-meter track, and luckily there's one close to my house. And I just wanted to run for 30 minutes to see how far I could actually get. And on the first day, I ran for 30 minutes straight, and I clocked 4.5 kilometers. I was stoked about the pace. I didn't stop. And I was like, how does that even make sense? You know, keeping in mind that my first 20 days of running or something, I had been tracking it on my Fitbit, but I hadn't been tracking the distance. I had been tracking the time. I thought I had the route mapped out well because I had ran it like 2 years ago. So after that, I ran for about 40 minutes on the same 400-meter track, and I ran about 4 miles in 40 minutes. On the last 5 days, I got incredibly sick, and it was pretty bad. I couldn't breathe, I was coughing up stuff, my nasal was blocked, I had body aches, cold sweats, the whole lot. And I knew that I still had to get out there though. You know, I'd made a promise and sort of pledged myself online that I was going to do this stuff. So I got out there, and on the first day, I decided I would just walk. So I walked for an hour. I covered about 5.5 or 5.8K, so that was great. And then as I got better throughout the days, on day 30, I was finally a little bit better. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna try my best to run and beat my PB. I ran for 40 minutes. And I hit about 6K, so didn't beat the PB unfortunately, but today was also the weigh-in. So after all of this, you know, day 15, I hadn't lost any weight at all. You know, I'd gotten sick, I hadn't really beat my PB in a long time. I really needed the win, but I was excited. I was genuinely excited. And I stepped on the scale, and lo and behold, man, your boy lost 2 kilos. Yeah, let's go. So yeah, lost 2 kilos. That was pretty sick. You know, I was hoping it would be a bit more if I was being honest with you, but you know, it can't be helped. You know, it is what it is. And hey, like, I earned that 2 kilos, man. So I got to take my hat off and pat myself on the back. I felt like I gained some discipline, gained a lot of confidence, and I felt better than I had in a long, long time. Following that challenge, what I did is I said, you know what, I want to run for an hour on the 400-meter track, and I was much better at this point, and I hit my actual PB of 11.25 Ks in an hour. So that was absolutely massive, and I'd, you know, gotten up early and did a few of these long runs. I think the first one was 9K, and then it went to 10, and then 11.25. So yeah, honestly, like, I'd come so far, and it was so good to see. But remember at the start of the video, I said that something wasn't right, and it was because my PB was so fast. You know, my best ever 5K time after about 3 months of running 2 years ago was like a 26:12. So when I hit a 27 and a 26:58 after like 2 weeks of running, and definitely not being on form, I didn't feel like I was that good, you know? So I checked my route. My colleague brought it up to me, he's like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if you didn't run 5K every day? And I was like, nah, it's definitely 5K. So I checked the route, and turns out it was not 5K. It was 4.25 kilometers. Now, how this happened was when I moved into this house, I hadn't been running. It was about 2 years ago, like I said, and I wanted to get back into it. So I mapped out a route, 4.25K. I was like, this will get me back into it. And when I started doing the 5Ks, I gave up really quickly, and I don't really remember why, but I gave up. I felt really bad about this, and I really just wanted to come clean about it. And then that's why I decided, you know what, with that information in mind, I need to get out on that track and I need to run 5K, and I need to go as hard as I can to really understand what the real progress is. Because in terms of a 26:54, and what I thought to be my previous PB, this is what it would actually look like as a 5 kilometer run if I kept the pace. So you can see that this number is, very different from what we thought our previous 5K was. So I hit the 5K, I got out on that 400 meter track, and I pushed myself as hard as I possibly could. I was really pushing it. My girlfriend was there. She will tell you that I looked pretty miserable, but I really, really pushed. And this is what I got as my PB, a big fat 27:40. And if you compare these two numbers, like, that is crazy. And if you keep in mind that, some of these 5Ks, or what I thought to be 5Ks before, I would have to walk some of them and I'd get like 35 minutes. I brought my time down from a 5K 40 minute to around a 27:40. And that realization was massive. I honestly couldn't believe it. It's not my best ever, but holy shit, man. Like, the difference there is absolutely crazy. Since I ran that 5K, I've actually been injured. I think I pushed myself a bit too hard. Hadn't been used to running that fast. So it's been hard to sort of get myself back on track now. So in summary, what we were able to achieve in those 30 days was running from a 40-minute 5K to a 27:40. I also ran the longest distance I have ever run, which was an 11.25 kilometer in an hour, which is actually the best pace out of all of these times and the longest distance. And I lost 2 kilos. I just feel so good about that. And I really hope that it shows to you that it is possible. It's gonna suck, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna be met with heaps of ups and downs. Please make sure that you pick the right route as well. I'm not gonna make that mistake again. And on top of this, I've got 2 things that I want to announce. So the first thing is that 5K challenge. I felt like I cheated. I didn't mean to, but I definitely feel like I cheated the people watching. So first things first, I'm gonna start that challenge again. So starting tomorrow, I'm going to be running 5K. This time it's gonna be a real 5K, but I'm gonna be running 5K every day. And our goal is to beat the 27:40. So that is the biggest thing first. Second, I'm training for a half marathon in June. So you can expect to see a lot more like long run training out of me in terms of my shorts. So if that's something you're into, please feel free to subscribe. I'd love for you to keep me accountable, make sure that I'm running the right course and stuff like that. But yeah, so I really hope you guys got something out of today's video. And of course, I just wanted to say a big shout out to everyone and all the supporters and everyone that kept me going on TikTok, Instagram, that was sort of egging me on in this challenge. I'm gonna do it again, and I'm going to also document my journey for training for a half marathon as someone who's definitely not even been in a marathon or a half or a 5K race before. So that's really exciting. I'm also working on some other really big projects at the moment. If you're a member of my Discord, you might notice that a few more people are joining recently. I'm really excited about this one. So if you want to find out what that is and you want to get some sneak peeks into what that is and what I'm talking about, then hit the subscribe button. Until next time, guys, keep showing up daily, keep doing your thing. Love yourself as well. Give yourself a pat on the back from time to time, even when you're struggling, right? Much love, guys. I will see you guys in the next one. Ciao, ciao.